they can do is eat, sleep, cry, and poop. That's all they've got. But that's not what you see. You look that child in the eyes and you see everything they could be. And if you're a parent, you give everything you've got, your time, money, energy, everything you've got, for 18 years, 20 years, sometimes 40 years, to bring that potential, that sense of possibility into the world. That's what someone did for you at some point. The real job of parenting is holding space. Holding space for what could be. Not for what is today, but for what could be. And I think that is the job of every leader in the world. To hold space for what could be. At this moment, you're probably looking around at the world around you and you're seeing the things that we haven't figured out quite right yet. But what we need you to do, more than anything else, is to hold the space in your heart, in your mind, and in your soul for what could be. And even when the world around you seems to have given up on that, even when they seem to have walked away and decided that can never happen, that can never be, you hold the space. You believe. You have faith. You hold the space. Napoleon said that leaders are dealers in hope. They're dealers in hope. Their strongest power, their greatest asset, is the ability to see something that others do not see and to invite them into that space. We need you to hold space for the things we haven't figured out yet, so that you can, with your faith, invite us into the spaces that we have been too afraid or have not had the vision to walk into yet. That is the job of every new generation of leaders, to keep holding space for hope. I've become such an evangelist for hope. I love it so much that I made a movie about it. My newest film is called Look to the Sky, and it's all about hope. Here's the trailer for Look to the Sky. With this film, we did the exact same initiative, which was we allowed people all over the world to screen this film. But one of the most exciting things that happened was we were able to partner with Boys and Girls Clubs of America. I spoke at their national conference last year, and after that happened, over 300 clubs from all over the country requested screenings of this film in their local club, which brought such joy to my heart to know that young people all over the country that probably needed to see this film the most to have more hope in their life had the opportunity to see it. There are a lot of other things that I could do with these films that would probably make a lot more money. But knowing that I have the opportunity to do that is what brings me the most joy. It's what brings me the most fulfillment. And the fact that I've been able to find a sustainable way to do it, although it's taken me some trial and error to figure that out, and there have been some risks along the way, have been the greatest joy of my professional life, to be at the point now where as an artist I can do these things that make an incredible impact, but that also allow me to sustainably keep doing what I do, which is a great joy for me. I want to tell you one more story, but before I do that, I want to say a couple things. First of all, after this is over, we're going to dessert, right? It's right outside. So I'm going to go out there. So if you'll allow me, after we get done here, to get a drink, so don't come up to me here, give me a second to get my mic off, get a drink, and then I'm going to go out there. And I'm happy to hang around and answer whatever questions you have. I'm happy to hang out for a while. So I don't want anybody to feel like we don't have time. We have time. So if you need to wait for a little bit, to talk for a little bit, that will be okay with me. I'll hang out until we've talked to everybody that wants to talk. So don't leave if you would like to say hello. And I am a hugger. So if you hug me, I will hug you back. Someone in HR told me to say that. And the other thing I'm going to say, if you have been waiting for the last 50 minutes for me to shut up so you can get to the next thing, don't follow me on social media because it's just more of the same. However, if this has been helpful to you, I post on social media pretty much every day like this, and I'm just kind of hanging out there. So if you'd like to hang out with me, connect on social media. I'd love to do that. All right, one more story and then we're done. I was 9 months into production on Legends of the Night, a film about the inspirational impact of Batman, when someone walked into a movie theater in Aurora, Colorado, where people were watching a Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises. And this person walked into that movie theater with guns and weapons, and people lost their lives. People died. Families were damaged. A community was hurt. It was a horrible experience. I remember waking up the next morning and seeing that on the news, and it was so terrible to see that had unfolded. But then I started to get messages and emails and phone calls from people who were friends of mine and filmmakers that said, Brett, you can't keep making the movie you're making. You're making a movie about the inspiration of Batman. Are you watching CNN right now? I turned on CNN and there was a round table of people discussing how Batman had been the influence that had caused him to do this horrible thing. And all of a sudden in the media and in many ways, Batman had become a bad word. And there were people that were saying to me, it's now in bad taste for you to make a positive movie about Batman. Well, I'm an indie filmmaker. We don't shut up. We just find new ways to roar. So I waited a few days, and then I said, you know what? This is a really dark moment. Let's try to bring some light to it. I'd like to send out a press release to all the journalists we're connected with. And I want you to include in that, there's a lot of negative things going on about Batman right now, but we have some positive stories that we're working on with this film. If you'd like to see the other side of this, we'd be happy to share some stories with you about the positive side of Batman to balance out this news coverage. So that press release was scheduled to go out on 9:30 a.m. on a Thursday morning. I got on a plane at 9 a.m., 30 minutes earlier than that. It left from Tampa, Florida, flying to New York City, JFK Airport, Delta Airlines. There was no Wi-Fi on the plane. When my plane landed 3 hours or so later, I opened up my inbox, and it was flooded with messages. Over 50 of the meanest messages you could ever imagine from journalists. These journalists had read my press release, and they had made the assumption that I was trying to get free publicity for my film by leveraging a national tragedy. That was not my heart. That was not what I was trying to do. But it's the way they interpreted it. And these messages said things like, I cannot believe the tastelessness of this press release. What's the matter with you? You are evil. you should be ashamed of yourself. You're a horrible person. And in that moment, I did the very worst thing I could have done. Sitting all alone in the very back of this airplane, I read every message. One right after another, right after another, right after another, right after another. I made a decision a very long time ago to live with my arms open and my heart open. That has served me well in my work. But in that moment, those words were a dagger in my heart. I got off the plane, and by the time I got to that point, I didn't need a seat, I needed a row. I dropped my bags, I sat down, and while hundreds of people walked past me, and while some Delta employee took my bag off the checked baggage carousel, I just sat there and cried. I cried for 30 minutes. I couldn't stop crying. I tried to imagine what I was going to say to my distributor. These were the journalists that were the lifeblood of my work, and they thought I was evil. I tried to imagine what it would have been like if a family member who had lost a child in that tragedy had gotten my press release that morning and had interpreted it that way. How would they feel? And I can remember specifically, I said to God in that moment, you gave me this beautiful thing to do something good in the world, and I ruined it. I ruined it. I wasn't experienced enough. I wasn't articulate enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough. So sorry. So sorry. I was working on a completely different project. And in that project, I interviewed an astrophysicist. And we got to talking about stars. And he said, you know, there's a common misconception about starlight. Most people think that when they look up at the night sky and see a star, they're seeing that star right now, this moment. But that's not the truth. Everything you see in the night sky is very old light. And here's what he meant by that. The closest star to us is, of course, the sun. The light from that star only takes a few minutes to get here. But the next closest star is the Proxima Centauri. That star is over 4 light years away. It's over 4 light years away. So that means if tonight it was clear enough and you could see the Proxima Centauri, you'd be looking at light that left that star 4 years ago, but you're just seeing it now. You're just seeing it tonight. But what really blows my mind is Polaris, the North Star, the star that had lit the way for travelers and led them home for centuries. That star is over 400 light years away. So that means that if tonight you could see Polaris, the North Star, you'd be seeing light that left that star when Shakespeare was still writing sonnets. But you're just seeing it now. You're just seeing it now. Why? Because that's the nature of starlight. That's how starlight works. It shines through darkness till it finds its destination. 2 years after I was sitting at that airport, hurting so bad, I was sitting in my office and my assistant walked over to me and said, Brett, you need to read this email right now. It said, Dear Brett, we're a group of friends in Aurora, Colorado. We would like to screen your film, Legends of the Night, here in Aurora, with the proceeds going to the families that were hurt that night in that movie theater. Would that be okay with you? And at that moment, what I wanted more than anything else was a time machine. I wish I could have gone back 2 years to that version of me sitting at the airport dying. I would have said to that version of me the same thing that it's in my heart to say to you tonight. Keep going. Keep going. Because one day, even the people you thought you hurt you will bless. Your work matters. Your life matters. The world needs you. Don't give up on us yet. Keep fighting. Here's the truth. You are starlight. You are starlight. Shining through the darkness, often not knowing where you're going, often feeling very lost, often feeling alone, often feeling confused. And yet, one day, you reach your destination, and some fool like me looks up at the night sky and says, wow, how beautiful, how instantly it arrived. But you know in your heart that it was years. Study, work, of investment, failure, of success, of learning, of victories and defeats, of everything that happened along the way to lead to that moment. Everything you poured into it. But that's what it takes. Because that's what it means to be starlight. I wish I could tell you that the moment you graduate, the moment you finish whatever else is the next milestone for you, that it'll all be perfectly clear and you'll have everything figured out. But you won't. You won't. I still don't know what I'm doing next week. We're all still figuring it out. That's okay. That's the nature of what it is to be a star. And one day, you will arrive at that destination, and although many people around you will praise you, pat you on the back, congratulate you, you'll know that it wasn't one moment, it was years. It was years. And so, dear friends, even when you feel like you have blown it on live TV in front of everyone, keep telling your story. And even when you feel that you're all alone, in the dark, swimming your heart out, losing ground, keep moving forward. And even when you feel that everything is wrong and all is lost, keep holding space for hope. For there are galaxies within you. You are filled with wonder and magic and songs and light. So, my dear friends, shine. 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 Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a delight to be with you tonight. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you.